All right, thanks everyone for joining us today for this webinar on controlling complexity in agile and traditional development environments. I'm pleased to have here with me on the line Tom Murphy from Gartner. And from an agenda standpoint, he's going to give a bit of a discussion around some of the disruptions that are happening in software development today and why that's causing a need for higher quality in the software development process. And I'll take it over from there and talk a little bit about some technology that is as part of static analysis for making static analysis viable in the software development process, something that you can rely on, something that you can use every day. From a logistics standpoint, you'll notice that you're on mute as an audience because of the size of the crowd that we have out there listening in. But we do want to hear your questions, and we'll have some time at the end for a Q&A session. So please type in your questions to the chat messaging. We'll be logging those, and then once we're done with the presentation, we'll address some of those questions. You'll also notice that we'll have some poll questions alongside the discussions, and we're going to kick off this webinar with two poll questions. The first being, how would you describe your current software development process at your organization? And the second being, if you could estimate the percentage of total software defects that you identify prior to putting your product into QA. So go ahead and fill out that poll. That poll is open right now. And at this point, I will turn it over to Tom.
Morning. I'm going to move us on forward while you fill out your poll. And we'll get started with kind of the overall beginning here with the idea. What I want to look at is some of the drivers in the market that I think are forcing us to relook at the way that we approach software quality. And I want to talk about this concept that we've known about for many years of driving quality earlier in the life cycle and some of the ways that we can do that now and do it better than what we've done in the past. So if we look in the market right now, Gartner has identified that there are these 5 reinforcing discontinuities in the market at this point in time. And these have a rather large impact overall on IT units, the way that we interact with business and the way that we deliver software. So we've had this kind of shift in the way applications are built, a shift in the way that we buy applications, and a move from packages that we may buy and install to software that we buy as a service, a movement that continues to grow around open source, more complexity coming into the internet in the form of Web 2.0, which brings much greater power to what we can build and put together. And if we think about software as a service, open source, Web 2.0, and the way that these tie together many of the other fundamental underlying technologies, service-oriented architectures and web services, the already present infrastructure that we have, and a set of applications where we are now much more able to, on one hand, customize an application, and on the other hand, take just a component or a service and tie it into our workflow. These pieces provide to your end users this view that they have a lot more capability and they've experienced in dealing on the internet with other sites that they use, great power in the internet and what it can do. And this drives a lot of challenges for us. So we have this idea that, on one hand, business units need to be independent so that they can make changes and they can move forward. On the other hand, I have this notion of global class. How do we operate so that, in essence, I can deliver services that my partners can rely on, that other lines of business within my group can rely on? So I need to be global class, but at the same time, my business unit wants to operate independently. How can I do that? How can I deal with the fact that end users go out and acquire devices and now want access to information on those devices anywhere, anytime. The fact that we have a huge shift in the way that applications are architected so that they are network-centric, loosely coupled, and composed in a style that, as we talk about service-oriented architecture, that's supposed to enable your business user to change a model, to change parameters, and update the application itself. These are great promises that are out there. Obviously, there are going to be challenges for us to actually make them happen. And all of these drive the fact that in order for our IT organization to work as well as it has in the past, we have to do more, and we have to do a better job than what we've done in the past with testing, with quality, with the way that we look at delivering software. So organizations have sought out, and many of them have begun to shift towards agile development practices. Certainly across software companies, you see broad uptake in agile development. Scrum, XP, lean software development. There are a number of different practices that are out there that have slowly infused themselves into the corporate lifestyle. And these things create, on one hand, great benefit for the development team, but for the software quality team, they present a number of challenges. Most of our organizations still tend to operate outside of development. Even if development's moved towards agile, the rest of the organization may still move in a very traditional waterfall-oriented mentality. So project and program management does what it does. It hands stuff over to development. Development now breaks that into a set of iterations, goes about a bunch of work, and then they huck it over the wall into testing, who eventually shifts it on over into operations. And so normally when I talk to the majority of IT organizations out there, you see that software still is less of a quality assurance mode than it is a testing mode. Testing, we're looking for defects typically at the end. We're trying to find them by going in and doing a bunch of ad hoc testing and manual testing, and maybe we automate some of that, but we're looking for that needle in the haystack. To be a quality organization, it means that we find things and prevent things as early as possible. We take on practices that help us write better code and help us to not have the defect in the first place. We know from a cost-benefit ratio that it is much cheaper to fix a defect earlier in the life cycle than it is later in the life cycle. And we've known this for several years. Yet, we've done very little to really address the idea of, well, how do I drive out defects at requirements? How do I find and fix defects in design or during coding? One of the benefits that I think has come about with Agile is that it really does provide a set of practices to help us understand or to drive quality forward in the life cycle. And now as I see results from the polls popping up, the large majority of you at this point in time use a traditional development methodology right now. So hopefully you'll see, as we look at these slides and where we're going, how incorporating some agile pieces can help your organization go and drive better quality, and also see some of the pitfalls that you may run into as a testing organization. So the problem with Agile from a testing side of things is it really disrupts the normal flow that a testing organization typically likes to see. Requirements are never fixed. The idea in Agile is that you have